Got it. We're on, and it is now 6:30. Good evening. Good evening, Meadows Place. This is a Meadows Place City Council regular meeting. It's Tuesday, March 28th, 2023, and it is 6:30 p.m. We're located here in the city of Meadows Place. I hope the crowd will keep quiet during the meeting, and thanks for everybody for watching. Item A is call to order and announce a quorum is present. We do have a quorum present. All of council is attending. We will go to item 1, Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. Krista, could I throw a curve at you and ask you to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Still remember how to just get us started? Okay. Jim? And it goes on to the minutes, and you'll be there forever. Okay. And Jim is going to do our invocation. So we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Lord, we thank you so much for this day and giving us this opportunity to gather. We thank you for the city of Meadows Place, all that you are doing, the way that you are moving in the city. We thank you for all the staff, the volunteers, our first responders. God, really, just everybody who pours into this place. As we look at the business of Meadows Place tonight, that we ask that you just are present and a part of every aspect. God, we thank you for the way that you continue to pour in each of our lives, and we ask that you protect us, watch over us, and continue to do this. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much, Kristen Malone, who is the president of Fort Bend ISD School Board. And we thank her for being here, and Brian, who is the Chief Financial Officer, and who will be handling any questions as we move on to item B, which is a presentation about the Fort Bend ISD bond that's going to be up for election in May 6th of 2023. We invited them to come explain this so that people could hear a little bit about the bond and have the opportunity, council, to ask questions about it. We cannot promote or speak against it. We must remain neutral from this body. However, we don't have, not everybody is going to have the opportunity to hear it addressed immediately directly to them, nor have the ability to ask questions. Who's going to go first? Okay, well, Kristen, let me ask you this before you get started. Y'all I've done this type of thing a lot. How many city councils have you been to on this bond?
This is the first.
Oh, so Meadows Place, first again.
Y'all are the leaders.
Don't look at me like that, Rick. All right, Chris, go ahead. I'm being silly.
Thank you, Mayor Jessup. Thank you, Council. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to serve in Fort Bend ISD. I myself am a product of Fort Bend ISD, grew up here K through 12, graduated from Texas A&M University, and there we go, and felt to get involved and engaged back in the school district that gave me so much. And I think it's cool being here in the Meadows, so I want to give y'all hats off. My sister used to live on Dorrance, and I love how you guys have such a zest and appreciation for community and togetherness, and that it's not just a prayer and, that it really exists. And what you do on Halloween and how you block off the streets and things like that is just such a gift. And I also think I've been to some events down by the new Meadows Elementary School, and seeing the dogs out and the children playing and the music going and fathers dancing with daughters and husbands and wives and, just family and togetherness and friends is such a beautiful thing. And I look around at that campus, and it brings me such great joy to know that Fort Bend ISD's school is providing a place of fellowship and togetherness and something that the community is so incredibly proud of. And so I just want to commend you all for everything you're doing and how you're utilizing these facilities for good and to bring folks together. So with that, it's been 5 years since our last bond, and I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty fiscally conservative, but at the same time, I recognize the needs and think that it is incredibly important that the children, not just here and not just where I live, but across the entire district, have the opportunity to go to a thriving school where learning can happen, where families are proud, where they're engaged, connected, and we can provide the highest academic outcomes possible. You know, COVID did a number on us, and it was a real struggle, and there was that absence for quite some time of, people weren't going into the schools, we were doing the online learning, and now we're paying for it. We're paying for it with academic loss, we're paying for it with social emotional issues in folks. But when I think about it, I'm like, how do we overcome this? Frankly, it's a problem. Well, we overcome this with approaching it head on. We overcome this with making a difference. And so one of the things we're doing is we've done a couple consolidations recently, but we're doing a rebuild just like with Meadows. And so we're trying to make those changes, and we need the community's support to do that. That we together collectively can make, well, first of all, I think Fort Bend County is pretty doggone great, right? And I know Fort Bend ISD is one of the top performing ISDs in the state of Texas, without a doubt. But it doesn't mean we can't keep doing more, right? We need to stay cutting edge. We need to stay where we are, we need to continue to propel, continue to raise the bar of excellence and provide opportunities. And so with that, I am grateful for the opportunity that you guys are giving us today, Mr. Gwynn and I, to present and to share information and provide some specifics around the bond, and that you're open to asking questions and listening and supporting our school district. And with that, thank you for having us. And if you want to start sharing and vote on May 6th, Election Day, for anyone listening to support Fort Bend ISD. Go for it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brian Gwynn, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Fort Bend ISD. And I'll share with you some information on the bond at a high level, and then give you all an opportunity to ask us questions that you have. So I want to start out by saying that this is one of the largest bonds that the district has ever held. It's $1.2 billion. And that sounds like an awful lot of money, and it is. But one of the things to keep in mind as you do this, our last bond was $992 million. And that was done in 2018. And if you apply the rate of inflation to 2018 dollars to today, you arrive almost magically by coincidence at $1.2 billion. That wasn't by happenstance. We are very fiscally conservative when we put this together, although it is a large number. We're essentially doing the same thing again, and I'll share with you some of the details that we have in the thing. We'll have to do this in 3 propositions, 2 of them because that's state requirements. The first proposition, Proposition A, is the largest at $1.18 billion. It includes $317 million to rebuild 3 new schools. This community, as you all are aware, had your school rebuilt. We're now expanding that out to 2 other communities plus a high school. Briargate Elementary, which is on the southeast side, is planned to be rebuilt. And on the northwest side, we'll have our Mission Bend Elementary rebuilt as well. And so we'll bring those communities in just as we did with Meadows Place and give them an opportunity to provide feedback on what that school will look like. Clements High School is also slated for rebuild. That campus has our highest facility condition index. That's a score where we have architects and engineers come in and walk through the site to determine how it looks. And unfortunately, there are significant foundation issues at Clements. And the rebuild of Clements is actually more cost effective than mitigating those foundation issues just because of the size. And so the largest component of that $317 million, about $220 million, is to rebuild Clements. Now, that is a huge, staggering number, but we're rebuilding on that same site, and so we'll build the new school, the students will then move into it, and then we'll demolish the old school, so no displacing of students. But as you can imagine, it's a 4-year process, and it's very complicated, which is adding to some of the costs associated with that. The next item we have is $146 million for 3 new schools. One of those is a middle school that will serve also the southeast portion of the district. We have a new new elementary school that will go in the Harvest Green area because of the profound growth that's happening there. And then rather than build a new campus, we currently have a facility on the southeast side, Emerald Woods, and we're going to reconfigure that to serve students. And so the cost of an elementary school new is about $47 million now. It's going to cost about $20 million to repurpose this building. So we're using what we have and saving taxpayers money at the same time. The next is $591 million, and this is what we're calling life cycle deficiencies. This is where we go in and put new roofs, HVACs, plumbing, flooring, et cetera, to make sure that the campuses that are in good condition stay that way. So this is maintaining what we have. $67 million for network infrastructure. I think everyone here is aware that during the pandemic, we went 100% remote at the onset. Part of the reason we were able to do that is because the investments we made in our network infrastructure, but that was all installed back in 2014. And as you're aware with technology, you can't rely on old stuff. This is to reconfigure the network and bring it up to date. So it's reached the end of its useful life. It's still serving us, but it is time to upgrade it to newer components. And so that's a large component of that. $30 million for safety and security. Unfortunately, based on recent events, I don't have to explain the importance of this. But we do have components in there to ensure that our schools remain safe and secure with additional cameras, ensuring that the Rhino door locks that we have already installed are added to campuses where we may have expanded into spaces that weren't previously used as classrooms, police vehicles, and then also an emergency response kit for our police officers to ensure that if there is ever an incident in Fort Bend ISD, they are prepared to respond in a way that is effective against any type of intruder. And then finally, the last item, $29 million for transportation. We have buses, about 30 buses that need to be purchased and replaced. We drive the equivalent of the Earth's circumference every day in our district. And so from that perspective, we put mileage on our buses. We're also building a transportation facility on the southeast side. Currently, we have 2, one at Hodges Bend, which is on the northwest side, as well as our Lake Olympia transportation terminal, which is just outside of the Lake Olympia subdivision. This would add one on the southeast side so that we're not driving as far and reducing our deadhead miles, so that will save taxpayers money in the long run from a mileage perspective.
Okay, I want to just bring this up. The $591 million for aging buildings. So we, as the board, said, man, that's a big number. And we actually wound up having a workshop dedicated to just that number, where we went through and they had a smart sheet and line by line showed us exactly the time frame, showed us how much the cost is, the soft cost, the hard cost, etc. So it's roofs across various campuses. It could be a playground feature. It could be they're all priority 1. So they have priority 1 through 4. And the reality is, guys, we actually have nearly $1 billion in aging building deficiencies that need to be addressed. But we're trying to target $591 million currently. And it's because we haven't gone out for a bond in 5 years. So the number from before that wasn't addressed, it just continues to grow. And some folks are asking, why are you calling for $1.18 billion? And that's a huge component of it. And it's because we keep chasing our tails, and it's time to try to get ahead of the ball. Okay.
And I think that's an excellent point. It has been 5 years since our last bond. One of the things that we didn't mention at the onset is that that bond was actually anticipated to be a 2-part program, with the first portion being $992 million and the second part being about $800 million, broken up in over 3 years. Unfortunately, what happened at the end of that third year from 2018 to 2021, there was a pandemic in there. we had a superintendent change out, and so unfortunately the timing of that didn't occur when we necessarily wanted it to. The next proposition that we have will be Proposition B for $52.5 million, and this is a refresh of computers for students and staff. And so, as you're probably aware, at Meadows Elementary, they have iPads and laptop carts within the classroom. Those have a limited life, and so this is to purchase new items that will keep those components going for the foreseeable future. We are required by state law to put anything device-related in a separate proposition so voters can consider it separately, and that's the reason that you're seeing that here as opposed to included in that original proposition. And then our final proposition, Proposition C, is for an auditorium that would also serve the southeast side. The district currently has 2 aquatic facilities, one at Hodges Bend, one that's on Lexington adjacent to the administration building. This would put one on the southeast side to serve those students. Currently, they are bused either to the Lexington location or go to Stafford to their facility to practice if they are doing swim meets. And so this will not necessarily save money per se, but it does give students a few extra minutes in the morning to sleep in as opposed to having to get up early to be bused to that site. And again, state law requires that we post this as a separate proposition, any type of athletic facility, which is why it's not incorporated into the bond. And so when you go to the ballot in May, you will see 3 propositions for Fort Bend ISD that are being asked for your consideration. As we talk through this, so I think probably great, the school needs to be supported, everyone is excited about that, and then, well, what's the cost of this? Well, the first thing we want to share with you is what is our tax rate? Our current tax rate is $1.13, and as you can see, in the Houston region is one of the lowest. What is the cost of this bond that we're proposing at $1.2 billion? It would be a 1 cent increase to our tax rate. And so we would go from $1.13 to $1.14, which does not move our position in terms of the overall tax rate. The next thing to consider is what is the impact going to be to the taxpayers? $2.50 per month is what the cost is on an average home of about $300,000, which works out to about $30 a year. And so one of the things that I would emphasize in this is that we just decreased our INS, income and sinking tax rate, by 1 penny this year. We're basically saying that we would add that back in. The penny that we had was supporting the 14 and the 18 bond, and so from that perspective, this is what we need for the 2023 bond that's under consideration. The last thing, and I think you all are probably very aware of this, but many in the population are not. What is the impact going to be to our seniors and those who are disabled? The answer to that question is 0. This will not impact their tax bill because they have a ceiling on their tax bills and it will not exceed their current rate. You're probably also aware the only way that would change would be if they do a significant improvement to their property, add a pool, add an addition. Otherwise, there will be no impact to seniors and those that have a disability on their homestead. And so that's the positive news there. What is the impact? It's a 1 cent increase to our tax rate. $2.50 per month is what the overall cost is. And with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Well, first, let me say thank you very much for coming out to City of Meadows Place. I know I learned something in case somebody asks me. Council, anybody have any questions?
Not so much a question, but just when you're talking about the aging infrastructure, maybe remind people that the tremendous growth that Fort Bend ISD went through in the 2000s, all those buildings are coming to be 20 years old. You're going to start seeing the need for new roofs and some paint and things like that.
I'll emphasize your point by saying the average age of a building in Fort Bend ISD is now 30 years old. And if you own a 30-year-old home, you're going to replace the HVAC system, the roof, et cetera, and that is what these funds will do. So thank you for that. Yes.
Propositions. You talked about the A and maybe a little bit of B. What's the third one?
The third one's the natatorium.
Okay. All right.
And I want to bring this up. I also think it's important for us to stay competitive. And I'm going to just mention Lamar ISD. They have natatoriums, multiple swim facilities all over the place. And for us, same thing with Katy ISD. Katy ISD has, I want to say, I think at least 4 swim facilities. And so we're kind of behind the curve on that. And we just added water polo recently across the district, which has been great. And I think, I mentioned the pandemic earlier in connection, and Frankly, I knew he'd be doing all of the number stuff, so I was leaving that. But it is so important that our kids are connected and involved, and the more activities that we can have to engage them actually increases graduation rate. And our goal is to graduate them because you want them to be productive citizens here in Meadows. You want them to contribute to society in a way that promotes our economy. And so it's imperative that they feel connected, because since the pandemic, we are literally trying to overcome that wave of disconnection. And so a natatorium is crucial, not just so they can sleep in, but so that we can have more children have those positive experiences. And like in Lamar, I know currently they do a swim class that every single child learns to swim. And I'm not saying that's something that we would do necessarily, but could we look into it? Sure. You know, there's just things that we can do. Also, our extended learning programs during the summertime, they use those natatoriums as part of their camp. And that brings a lot of joy to a lot of the kids district-wide and creates that opportunity. So it's not just, you know, for our swim teams, but all kids wind up having access to it, K through 12.
Kristen, I'm going to cut you off right there. Council, if nobody else has any, go ahead.
Yeah, one more question. First, thank you guys for being here. This has been super helpful to see a presentation on, and that's something we can answer questions as well. One question that's been brought up a lot recently, Barrington Elementary, there are neighbors that we're housing in Meadows right now, or at least part of the school. How is that process going or progress going on their school? When is that campus supposed to be back up and running?
Is it going to be back up and running?
The answer to that question is yes. Barrington Place will be reopening.
You
There
heard
are
it
funds. There are funds included as part of that $519 million we highlighted to finish out the refurbishment of Barrington Place. Unfortunately, the mold issue there was much more intensive than what we anticipated, and so as part of that, currently, if you look at how our new schools are built, they have a much larger gym. I think that the way that I've heard what's called the gym at Barrington Place has been referenced to as a living room. It's very small, and so their multi-purpose room will be expanded as part of that. Unfortunately, it does mean that they will be closed for one more year and remain at Meadows Place and Lakeview Elementary, but in the 2025 school year, they will be reopening as Barrington Place Elementary.
Whether the bond goes through or not?
Yes, whether the bond goes through or not.
That's all. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
I have a comment. I just want to say thank you for coming. I think it was a great presentation that you guys put together, and one of the main things was the ending where people want to know what the bottom line is and highlighting what that actually is, the $2.50 a month, and especially when it comes to 65 and over, a lot of people really wonder that, and I really think that's a great thing that you guys are hitting on and making sure that everybody knows what because we want all of these things, but at the end of the day, especially people that are struggling want to know, what does that impact me on a daily basis? And so I think you guys did a great job with that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Oops, hold on. Let me turn my phone off and tell these people to go away. Sorry about that. One more thing I wanted to ask, just to clarify for me, because I'm a little behind here. What are we doing in Stafford? Are we spending any money in Stafford to swim people?
Right now, it's through a memorandum of understanding, so the short answer is no, we are not spending money to send students to Stafford. They are being magnanimous with their offer to allow our students to swim there.
All right, well then thank you very much for Stafford. If I could get you two to come up here just a second and take this with you.
Aw, that's so sweet.
And thank you so much.
Thank you. So good to see you.
Thank you all. We appreciate your.
Thank you all.
And we did.
Again, and now you know where Meadows Place is. So, we're the first people who've ever done that. All right, now we're moving on to what we're here for, which is taking care of the business of the city of Meadows Place and our reports. We have Chief Gary Stewart to come up and visit with us first. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you again.
I
want to start out a report, as we usually do, with our number of accidents. Number of accidents were 11. Number of arrests, 3. Calls for service, 2301. Number of reports were 51. Traffic citations, 258, with 610 charges. City ordinance, or citations issued for city ordinance was 0. Warnings for traffic were 103, with 163 charges. Warnings issued for city ordinance violation were 17, and total activity count was 3,156. We had 1 assault this month, 3 burglary of business, 3 BMVs, 0 burglary of business, 1 residential burglary. The city ordinance, I'll get into that in a little bit about the warnings that we issued. Criminal initiative 0, fraud 2, 0 robberies this month. 1,763 property checks. As you know, those are our close patrol, house watches, schools, and other. Thefts 6. 2, that number is wrong. I'm going to correct it on the next page. It's 3 UMVs. Our TLC program, as you can see, we had a lot of contact. It was 26 that passed and 67 failed, with a total of 93 contacts. That's going to be very important when I talk about these BMVs in a minute. Reporting period this time also in our city ordinance breakdown, the warnings that were issued were 11 were for solicitors, 5 were for noise complaint, 1 was for a loose dog. And as far as the roundabout accidents, we had 0. Flipping to the notes section, I really wanted to highlight on page 1, we'll go through page 1 and 2 on the BMVs. When we do these TLCs, as you know, it's to check vehicles and see if they're leaving items that are invisible and would attract a burglar. When you have 3, to me, it's 3 too many because some of these things can be taken care of. But what I wanted to mention in this case is that of these BMVs, in one case we had where a Glock pistol was taken from the console. And in another one on page 2, as you look through there, we had a bank bag that was taken that was unsecured in a glove box, and they had left the bank. So probably that was part of what we call jugging that followed them from the bank. So these items and stuff like that, we advise people not to leave in their vehicles. And again, that's why we do our report card program. Moving on to let's go to page 3, the UUMVs, or excuse me, page 5. Under UUMV, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. This has occurred out of room, and these were reported as stolen or lost inventory, as we call it. And we're still in the confirmation phase of that, even though they have been reported as stolen at this point through our agency. Below that, you'll see the flock safety alerts, 42 alerts, up 3 from last month. Breakdown of that was 10 for stolen vehicle alerts, 3 for sex offender alerts, 7 stolen plate, 7 as gang or terrorist related, and skipping down, the next one would be 9 for protective orders, and the other one is other agency hot list. Those are vehicles that the other agencies want to identify and us to look for. Of those, we did have 1 recovery of a stolen vehicle out of another jurisdiction, out of HPD. Right below that was the outcome of that. On the page 6 is our total arrests. We're down 3 from last month, but we're down on arrests, which is a good thing. That means we're not seeing as much criminal activity, correct? But of those, we had 1 DWI and 2 warrants of other jurisdiction. Moving to page 7, the additional notes section. As always, you know, we're always training, sending our guys to get through training, but we're also ending a training cycle. So it's even more important that we're catching up and making sure everybody has their required training, but from by TCOL has mandated, and some of the additional stuff that we have to take care of. This month, as part of our training cycle, we have CPR this week in AED and Narcan class. It's in progress. We just completed our Stop the Bleed program, which is a wound packing and tourniquet application. We have TASER recertification, mental health training with other agencies that carry the area. Some of that is occurring this Thursday. And in addition to that, we still have some mandates and legislative updates that we have to take care of, and that we have to meet by August 2023, and we're on target for that. Flock, it's important to mention this, that they've been coming out, or they're coming out to replace 4 of our cameras. and update the entire system. Of course, that's no cost to us, as part of our grant program, that they're maintaining it through that process. But it should be completed over the next 2 weeks. And as we noticed and brought to their attention, we noticed that there was a fluctuation in those flock numbers that we're receiving. And so they knew they needed to do some updating, and so they're taking care of that. Recruiting, we just had a trip to UHD, University of Houston downtown. We have several applications passed out and had some good questions from the group there and some interest. So hopefully we'll have some returned applications. So now we're actively looking to fill 3 full-time positions and 2 part-time positions. We have 2 patrol applications are in the background, and we just hired a new hire yesterday. Florian, who was a former officer from here, so he's coming back full-time with us, and we should be seeing him in probably within the next 2 weeks. We have 1 part-time dispatcher application in the background, and it's completed and in review, and 2 accreditation manager applications in background. And that's for our TPCA police accreditation program that we're looking at. New server is up at the EOC, is set up, and testing continues with the HyperSync system. What this means to us is that we'll be able to get rid of Neverfail, and we will participate in the workstations being set up, and that's all getting our testing over there and going through our hurricane review. Once this is all completed, should be completed within 3 weeks. I've kind of put a hard deadline on Right Technologies that it needs to be done in 3 weeks because we're moving into the hurricane season before we know it, and I really want to test all our systems out. Mesa door phase, as many of y'all may have noticed, there's a lot of hanging wires by our doors and entries, and I understand tonight we had a couple of problems, and I'm sure it's related. But they are upgrading that system, and phase 2 of that project's moving forward, and we should be completed with that wiring this week. March campout, I mentioned, went well. I know many of y'all attended. We continue to prepare for the active spring and summer concerts that are coming up in the 4th of July. So we're already doing our ICS forms and starting to set up our plans for those, our incident action plans for those as well. Grants, we brought them up last time, and a lot of people are interested in that, so I wanted to mention where we're at on some of these. The ballistic shield grant that was approved, and we're receiving our shields now, and there will be some training that we'll have to go through when those are all received. The radio recorder grant, $52,000, has been approved, so hopefully in the near future we'll have that in place. The dispatch console, which is the biggest one in this whole group, is of grants right now at $197,000. Is still under review, and so is our portable radio grant for 10 radios. So that's my report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Chief, let me ask on the dispatch console grant. Where's that grant coming from? Where did we apply for that?
I believe this is the HGAC.
HGAC, right? Okay. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Council, any questions for Chief?
Chief, on page 3, is that dollar amount right? The middle one?
On page 3, what? I'm sorry.
Page 3, the middle case.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. Is that it?
Question for you. I've heard some complaints, of course, on Facebook about our Airbnbs in town. Are you guys seeing complaints on that, or are people just putting it online and not calling?
So we've had some complaints in the past. We usually field those. We haven't had a ton of them, and I can't give you the number off the top of my head, but yes, we've had a few from time to time. It's not a consistent thing that's reported. But if anybody's having, and it's a good thing that you mentioned that, if anybody's having a problem with them, we would encourage them to call us and let us know. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I will say that I'm familiar. We had an Airbnb here a couple months ago or so where somebody called me about their Airbnb next door. And I said, this is great, except I can't stop them. Let's call the police. And we did, and I jumped on My car went over there, and by the time I got there, the police was there, and there was no noise to be had. And so I want to encourage all our listeners out there and all the people here in the audience to please, when something like that happens, call the police right then before you do anything else. And if your neighbor is upset about possible noise complaints, please encourage them to call the neighbors as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, I'm going to say thanks. You got a lot going on. I know you have looked at it. I want to touch base on one other thing, the warnings issued for the code enforcement violations.
Yes, sir.
You said you were going to mention something about that. Did I miss it?
Well, no, it's just the numbers there. One of the
down
things
at
is
the
when we
bottom.
see this many solicitors, I will mention this, and it's probably important too, is that we'll probably go to a zero tolerance because that will keep them out. Usually you'll get 2 or 3 of those if you'll know in other previous reports. But if you get an influx, then we'll start issuing citations, and usually they won't come back.
In all the years that I've been sitting here, we've had one group come in and submit their paperwork and get their permits. So, yes. All right, that's it. Thank you. Okay, because that's a big number for us.
That's the most we've had at one time.
And I like it when people see them out there and call the PD immediately on that as well, because that way, by the time y'all get there, there's still that guy right over there. So, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next is we still have a report coming. Item number 2 is a quarterly report from our code enforcement official, Jennifer Cabillon. Jennifer?
Hello. Good evening, Council. That's Code Enforcement Officer, Mayor. So this Code Enforcement's second quarter report you have in front of you. If you look at the first page, you'll see that there were 489 violations opened and 376 that were closed. Total weekends worked were 6. Total cases opened were 342. Cases closed were 315, and 14 citations were issued. Moving on, we have case initiation types. 297 were proactive, 45 were reactive. Violation closed types, 339 voluntary, 37 were forced abatements. Abatement activities were 778 inspections completed, 721 notices issued. For this quarter, Fort Bend County Animal Services did not submit any reports. If you go to your second page, you'll see the top 5 violations for this quarter. And they were 79 for a trash next to the curb.
Jennifer, can I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to touch base on the animal control.
Yes.
This is a couple of reports in a row. We've had 0 reporting from Fort Bend Animal Control.
Nothing came in to our accounting, correct.
I signed a check for Fort Bend Animal Control within the last quarter, I assure you.
Okay.
So let's check on that and make sure that you're getting that split out so you can take a look at it. Okay?
I will. Okay.
And can we get them to send 2 reports? They don't need to send you the bill unless you want to pay it. But we could maybe ask them to send you a report. Will they do that? I don't know. If not, we need to start breaking that report out and getting that in your hands. Rod is raising his hand.
Sir, I just received
Right.
I just received one today.
Got it. So we are getting them. We just need to make sure that somewhere in that process they get in your hands.
Right. And so in this particular case, since I don't have it, I would report it for next quarter, stating that was for the previous quarter.
I got all that.
Okay.
We need to just tighten up our process a little bit.
Yes, sir.
You're being left out and you shouldn't be.
Okay. Okay, so at the second page, at the top, you'll see the 5 top violations for this quarter. And there were 79 for the trash next to the curb, not trash day, 73 for grass and weeds in excess of 9 inches, 47 for trash cans and rubbish or recycle bins visible from the street, 40 for grass and weeds and flower beds or cracks of the concrete, and 30 for bandit signs. If you'll please turn to page 3, you'll see a list of different cases that I addressed. I thought to point out to you. The one that I do want to speak on right now would be a home on Meadow Crest was addressed for non-permitted plumbing work on a gas line in the garage. If you'll please turn to the remaining pages for the photos. Initially, I had stopped for a violation of trash cans at the curb on a Sunday. I wasn't able to reach the blocked front door to make contact. I proceeded to the garage as I heard movement. I called to the homeowner, and that's when I saw an industrial kitchen set up in the garage. Then a smell hit me of previous lit gas and old cooking oil, and the soot on the garage door became apparent. When the owner came out, I was already in the code enforcement truck, and we spoke about the trash cans, because that's what I was there for initially. I'd also asked him if he had used propane for his garage kitchen, and he said no, he had tied them into the gas line. So in the beginning of that work week, I contacted Fire Marshal Richter in hopes that he had a way to address this particular case that I've never dealt with before. He went out to investigate, but it was unable to contact the homeowner. And during my ongoing investigation, I found that no permit was ever pulled for plumbing on that gas line. I did send a notice of violation for the plumbing permit, and it was obtained. The plumber did suggest to the owner that the line just be removed, and it was done, and the work for closing that line was approved. And that is the end of my code enforcement report. If anyone has any questions.
I do.
Yes.
Okay, number one, you have one of the most thankless jobs in the city. You know, you can't make anyone happy. If you write them up, they're not happy. If you don't write someone up, you know. The neighbors aren't happy. I, on city council, did get a citation from her, so she doesn't pick and choose.
Notice of violation.
Oh, violation, whatever. I got a yellow love letter from her. Okay, and I took care of it. I sent her an email. She responded back really well, professionally, came out and inspected stuff, and responded back via email with pictures saying what still needed to be done. And I mentioned, okay, on the driveway, we're just going to replace it. And then she came out personally to make sure I wasn't doing it because of the violation. But I assured her no, it wasn't. And then in passing, I mentioned our neighbor across the street had passed 2 years ago, and that house was empty. And she immediately jumped on that, sent a letter to whoever got it, the U of H Law School, and there is now a for sale sign in that yard, which made all the street happy, because you don't want an empty house on your street where who knows what goes on, you know, because the driveway, you know, go in the back, and I wouldn't know if anyone was going in the back door or not. So good job.
Thank you.
Everything. And yes, the driveway is being replaced. Hopefully, weather hold up, it'll be done by Friday. Okay.
And Jennifer had to do a little bit of research to find it, and then she had to attack it from two different areas to get it done. And we found a great response. And all of a sudden, she became the squeaky wheel, and it got greased with a stop sign. I mean, with a for sale sign. So thank you very much on that. I agree with that, Kelly. I thought that was a great job. I'm glad you said something. Which goes to a lesson to anybody else that's listening. You can contact code enforcement directly on those things. Or you can come through the city council person, or you can send her an email or text. But please let us know when there's something out there. We don't want abandoned houses sitting in there. And if somebody's paying to get the front yard mowed, we really don't know it. So that's it. Anybody else got anything for code enforcement? Don't you have a new vehicle coming?
That's what I heard.
Do we have any idea when?
I do not. Maybe Rod has an idea?
We have contacted the county cop. Asked Jack for
What was that sound? Was that somebody being thrown under the bus? No. Jack, do we have any kind of a ETA on this? Okay. Let me know when they...
That's a no.
Okay. With that, remember that squeaky wheel thing? We can squeak if you'll bring it up, okay?
Yeah, vehicles are tough. Getting vehicles in, it's whenever the dealership gets them in.
We got it sitting out in the parking lot.
Our parking lot?
Our parking lot.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the ones we repurposed, but it had to get repaired, and so...
tried to drop it off and they wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
Not till they can get it. I got it.
It's happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, Jennifer, thank you very much. Appreciate your being here tonight. I think that garage deal was just an accident waiting to happen, and I'm glad we snuffed it out. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
All right. Moving on to item 3, fire report. I keep checking with Cameron, so make sure he's not holding up his notice. Because I'm moving on and I'm talking about the fire response. We had lower than usual activity. We only had 32 calls for service. Usually we're up into the 40s and above. Again, most of them were medical assist with EMS crews, which is pretty typical. We didn't have any just fires, where I'm glad, but we do have some interesting stuff going on. I met with Fire Chief DiCamillo the other day. We met for about an hour, and I've talked to Mayor Stafford about our relationship with our fire department over here, and they're happy with us. We're happy with them. One of the things that, and Chief, you'll be able to appreciate this, is they're short of people. And with all the new growth that they've got over there, the demands on different parts of the fire department, they're trying to staff up to meet. One of the things they're going to do here is swap living quarters of council with EMS. Right now, the EMS is in the front building and the fire crew is in the back. EMS will very seldom, if ever, have more than 2 people. And so they sometimes have 3+ on the fire trucks. So they're making arrangements to sleep their crews, and if somebody else needs to come in or what have you, they can. So they're taking care of that. They also complimented us, and I passed this on to Rod. Everybody is at Stafford talking about firefighters up through command staff and on to Stafford Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. They're very comfortable because when they are calling for HVAC repair, ice machine repair, or if some rookie hits the door, we're getting on it, and we're getting on it quickly, and they have complete confidence in us responding to that fire building, and I'm so happy that they do. And you're doing a great job on that, Rod, and I really appreciate it. We also, according to Chief DiCamillo, we still have a great relationship with our police department. So congratulations on working together, y'all. Council, anybody have any questions for me on fire department? Hearing none. City Administrator's report.
Thanks, Mayor. A few quick bullets. First of all, City Attorney continues to work on our sign ordinance. We're looking for the possibility of revisiting that at our meeting next month. So be on the lookout for that. We'll probably do another workshop to discuss what she's come up with in terms of template, and that's when the work begins. Many of you have already heard we are now switching, or we've gone to switch the way that we look up our codes. Now, we used to use what's called American Legal. We now use a company called MuniCode, which is a much more of a, what you might call industry standard way of looking up our codes. So we're going to be doing, we have done a little bit in terms of publicity. We'll do some more in terms of letting people know that MuniCode's the way we can go ahead and look up our codes. So we're excited about that. Within the last couple of weeks, Rod has gone ahead and authorized a company named Weisinger, Inc. to go inspect water well number 1. So that process is underway. As you guys know, we're going to take a look at what the condition is there, and we'll have a better idea when they're done what we have over at that well to see where we go from there. So please know that we're tearing into it and seeing what we've got. Finally tonight, I handed out a few minutes ago a couple of pages with a bunch of bullets on it. That is... So in the last couple of weeks, our mayor and Anna Maria went through PFIA training, which stands for Public Funds Investment Act. Those of us who, Anna Maria, the mayor, Courtney, I think, also goes through the PFIA training on a 2-year cycle. And giving this to you isn't really something we're asking you to read thoroughly or go into any detail on, but really what it does, I think, is these are Anna Maria's notes from when she went to that training, and I think it's a good representation of the attention to detail that we as a staff give to these trainings when we go. There's a lot of stuff to say grace over when it comes to public funds and the way we handle those funds, and certainly, listening to the changes in the way that we do things. I remember when I went through mine last year, probably half the 2-day course dealt with cybersecurity and how so many cities and other entities in the area and the country are getting hacked and getting everything from ransomware to different things like that. And so every year there's something new that gets brought to the table, and this year is certainly no different. And I think this is a good representation of just the different subject matters that are covered when it comes with public funding and public finance and being the stewards of public trusts. So just a snapshot of what we deal with, and certainly want to thank Anna Maria for paying much closer attention than I certainly ever did, looking at all these things. So it's good to go through this training every other year, and so we're required to do so, and we'll continue to do so. So with that, that's the report this month.
Anybody got any questions, comments before I do? All right, Nick, first of all, thank you very much for bringing that up about the PFIA training. I was waiting on Cameron to raise his staff for. Now turned it off. I had asked Anna Maria and I sat down there and went through that, and as y'all know, Council, we're going to be discussing a financial policy, and some of the things that we talked about at training, 6 years ago or 4 years ago, have moved forward. We've changed auditors. We have changed our depository, our bank. We are looking at having to go through some things that will fall in line with our financial plan that, again, Anna Maria did the yeoman's work on. But we learned a lot at that. Nick, I had my notes from that training, and I've still got them.
I'm sure they were excellent.
They were excellent. If I could read them, but they're scattered out throughout the message board, and I tried to consolidate and was unable to do that. I don't do that very well. And so I was very impressed by the data that she got, and it was nice to see what she picked up and what was important to her. And I assured council that some of the things that we picked up at that training have already been incorporated into our financial policy. So the timing was right. It will cause some work, and you'll see us moving forward with doing some things like depository bidding and things like that are all part of this. So thank Anna Maria for being there. And after I looked at your list, I figured that I got real smart. So anyway, I want to say thank you. Nick, I appreciate your reports. They're so much better than mine. It makes me jealous a little bit, but appreciate it. And I'm going to move on to mine now, D, Mayor, Council, and comments. Community communications. Your city council had a 1-hour workshop earlier with the communications director. I feel like I'm kind of speaking out. Most of the people are in the room, but for those that weren't and for those that are watching internationally, this is something that we had decided as a city we need to try to approve. And so we did hire, and we made some steps to that way, and we were making progress. It just wasn't what everybody wanted. But we didn't have funding. So when we rolled around the budget year, this council said, we're going to fund a position. We did, and we hired Cameron as our communications director, and he's really worked hard to make sure that City of Meadows Place has raised its standards and raised its ability to communicate both internally with staff to council, et cetera, and to the residents and externally. We get a lot of comments and feedback now from across Fort Bend County that we never did before. So I want to thank you for that. We've got all sorts of things going on, and we've got including our new website, which you haven't seen. You need to go check out. A lot of hard work in with that. But the community communications is, from my perspective, it's just so much better than it was. And this is what council wanted when they authorized the funding for communications. And I would say, after hearing tonight's comments by council, we're satisfied with where they are. So I just want everybody to know, and I want it on the record, that we're making sure that we put those types of communication efforts onto a priority. Item number B is springtime in Meadows Place. I love Meadows Place in the springtime. I just do. Things are starting to blossom, starting to look good. We're really starting to show off our city well. Dorrance looks gorgeous when you drive down it. The only thing is that we don't have any street numbers on there. I heard that's an issue that we're going to resolve, though, too. And it's going to look special. But in addition to that, we had the camp out. Kurt actually camped out in the camp out. We had, I will say we've never had the park as crowded as it was. We had baseball out there, and there was folks all over the place on that. We had camp out groups starting. We had people in the Helfman Park that were having some sort of a event. I couldn't tell if it was a wedding or a birthday or what. That whole park was full. So it was just spectacular to sit down there and look. And the weather was absolutely gorgeous, and it's just typical of Meadows Place in springtime, and I love it. So, but I want to say this to all those folks that lost plants, that are digging up those old dead plants or have dug them up and are replacing them just like the city was and is doing. Thank you very much. It's making a big difference in the appearance of our city. And I think if we look at our property values and look at the way we look as we see one another, that those things pay off. Item number 2 is council comments. Rick.
All right, starting off with the Dorrance project, and let me get back to my email. I've got it. We did get a update from our engineer HDR that's working on the project. Contractor has started working on the punch list items. We had our inspection last month, or actually the beginning of this month. It does have some more work to do. Primarily flooding the streets. We do know we have one bird bath, and it's going to have to figure out how we're going to take care of that bird bath. And a bird bath is an area that holds water that shouldn't. We're not sure if they can grind it out or if it'll take something more extensive like removing some of the pavement to replace it. Cleaning up the mailboxes. The ADA inspection is scheduled for Monday, April 3rd. We're still talking to the contractor about the time, but it looks like the contract's going to come in about $50,000 under budget. We did have some things that we did not have to do, like relocate some of the street lights. That's going to save us a little bit of money. And then the contractor is probably going to get into some liquidated damages, which means he'll get penalized for being late. We're still trying, like I said, coordinate exactly how much time he might be owed due to some of the things the city asked him to do. But it's not as many days as he's asking for at this point in time. You did mention the addressing for the houses that are there. We're kind of waiting for the contractor to get a little bit further on his punch list because we don't want to put the addresses on and then get them, mucked up. But this is something I've encouraged Nick and the staff to make sure that the city goes ahead and pays for put the street numbers back on there. The residents had the street numbers before. We're the ones that removed the curb. We should probably put the street numbers back. So.
It's going to look so neat.
Are there any questions on Dorrance before I move on to the bike project?
Did I hear you right?
It's looking that way.
Under budget on construction project, large or small? Wait, there it is. Thank you. Under budget on a construction project, large or small, is something that's just a rarity. And especially in a difficult project like this where you're dealing with, 20 some odd houses, two sides of the streets at different times, moving things back and forth. So I'm really surprised and thrilled to hear that. And I want to say thanks to everybody that oversaw the project because that's fantastic. Thank you. And I have no other questions.
Moving on to the bike project. I think it's this week. Our engineer is going to be meeting with Centerpoint in the field to verify where the bore locations will be for both the bridge testing location as well as the trail. Once we have their verbal okay from that meeting, then we'll push to get the written okay from them, and then we can move on with the project. So I think this has been, about 7 to 9 month delay.
Yeah, but having a meeting with them out in the field is a nice positive sign. So,
unfortunately, I can say that's just kind of center point at this point in time. The county's actually been holding some of Centerpoint's permits because they've got conflicts with some of our projects that they were supposed to move last year and still haven't moved. And so we kind of got their attention by holding their permits. Any questions?
Item E, regular agenda. This is where we take care of the business of the city of Meadows Place. Discussion and consideration of resolution 2023-04, authorizing an interlocal agreement with Fort Bend County, Texas for personnel services regarding food service establishment. If you look on your summary page, the bottom portion is sums it up. City administrator, on his own initiative, reached out to Fort Bend County, and they have agreed to enter an interlocal agreement for personnel services regarding food service establishments. We thought that was going to be a one phone call done. A few months later, we have it moving forward, and council, we're here to put out a resolution that we would authorize the interlocal agreement for them to be our food service inspectors. It will mean a lot of load lifted off of our people, and they will always have somebody there to do it. So, do I have a motion to pass resolution 2023-04?
I'll move to. Go ahead.
Move to approve.
Motion by Kurt.
I'll second.
By David. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Oops, any nays? No. Motion passes unanimously. Nick, you happy?
Very happy. So this still has to go to the county, and once they approve it, then we're going to notify all of the folks in our town that from here on out they need to go ahead and get with the county for any and all health inspections. So,
All right. Taking care of a little bit more business is item number 2, which is Resolution 2023-05, authorizing an amendment to the agreement with BBG Consulting to add residential rental program certificate of occupancy inspection services. We have an agree, as you know, with BBG. We've been dancing around this issue trying to find a good solution. Nick has worked with Kevin over there at BBG and has come up with an amendment that will allow them to do these annual rental inspections and COs. So, any questions on this before we vote? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So this is not a flat fee, this is per inspection, is that correct? And is it, the fee, does it go to the rental property? Who pays for who's paying for it? Each time, how does that work?
Well, we currently have a $100 application fee for rental properties, and then we also have a $75 fee for the additional certificate of occupancy inspections. Okay. So they have a change in tenants.
That's all. Thank you.
Did that answer your question? All in favor? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We had a motion and a second.
Second.
Yeah, we did discussion before. I'll make a motion or second, either one.
I got 3 people.
We discussed it before. You
Yes.
made a motion.
You're right. Okay. That's why.
And it's okay, you can discuss.
We're
before.
giving you, yes,
So-
you can. Motion by Tia, second by Kurt.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Discussion related to the bid of the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation. Rod, I understand you've got a presentation. You're going to get up and talk to us a little bit. But council, as you can read through, we've got $1 million in federal ARPA funding, all of which is identified for this project. The scope exceeds this funding amount by a considerable amount. We're trying to figure out what to do on our funding sources. I wanted to call this meeting tonight to let council review it one more time to see what we have, to see if any questions come up, because when decisions are made on the funding, we'll have to, we might need to go ahead and move in a hurry. So I'm asking everybody to let's review it, go through it, and we've got $3.2 million approximately to come up with, and we've got $1.4 million. Well, in case everybody forgot, we're 1 square mile and we don't have a lot of extra capital. So, Rod, do you have anything you want to tell us about how we're doing, or does anybody have a question?
yeah, Mayor, we've got
Y'all
a couple
got a program laid out?
We do. We have a couple of things we want to share with council. So, first, obviously, this item is to give council the opportunity to bid the project. But before we go that far, a couple of things we wanted to talk about. First of all, John Peterson is here with HDR. John obviously was responsible for the design of the plan set. And for any, John, if you want to come up, certainly, for any questions you might have on the actual scope of the work, what this would do, John can go as deep into the weeds as you need him to get in terms of what we're actually doing to the plant since the design phase is complete. Once you guys are done with John, what we'd like to do at the staff level is show you kind of a snapshot of what we have right now in terms of funding, and just kind of show you what it would take to go ahead and do this project. There's also needs to be a discussion, obviously, as you all know, as we've all talked about, funding is key here, because without any assistance from any other entities or any other funding source, we're essentially making a decision, as you can see in the spreadsheet, between doing this or doing phase 2 of Dorrance right now. And I think that's a pretty clear choice that we've laid out for you, and we'll talk to you about that. But since John's here and John's out there, before we get too deep into the numbers, I want to open up the floor. And John, if you want to just make mention of sort of what we're doing, if council has any follow-up questions for you, we'd love for them to use you tonight.
Sure. Thank you, council. The city's existing wastewater treatment plant is what they call a traveling bridge plant. It's not unique, but it's a little bit not your standard thing. You normally see a big circular clarifier, things of that nature. So as of lately, the traveling bridge starts at one end of the treatment plant and pushes sludge to the other end. It picks up sludge, takes it back to the other end and back and forth. And that's how the plant basically operates in the clarifier. The plant is fairly old and it's reached its useful life on the traveling bridge. Current traveling bridge uses hydraulic pressure to move it from one side to the other, and it's kind of worn down to where the bridge actually starts catwalking until it falls off or stops moving and can't proceed any further. The city's reached out to us. We went ahead and started coordinating the original, because it is kind of a proprietary thing. Ovivo is the original people that made the traveling bridge. They're still active. They still sell parts to that. So it is a one-stop place. You're not going to go anywhere else. You're going to go to Ovivo. You're going to buy the stuff. And then the contractor will be the one that does the installation of it. So what we've done a design. We've worked with Ovivo. Actually, we're going to change it from hydraulic to electric motor-based, which will give it a little bit more control, be able to move forward. Also have better corrosion-resistant materials. We're using all galvanized in there. As part of the project also, there'll be 18 slide gates that'll be replaced. The slide gates in the actual plant is critical for the operations of the plant. You can use it to modify the plant to do different things as different scenarios come up. Currently, right now, y'all really are kind of stuck to where y'all aren't. They don't work. So in order to do this project, you're going to have to bypass. You're going to have to be able to move this water around. You got to have those 18 gates. So that'll be part of this project. There'll also be some new control panels, things of that nature. So that's basically the project in a nutshell. If anybody's got any questions, I can go a little bit further into the process, how long it's going to take, that kind of stuff too.
And then also, council, on your backup, you can see an email from HDR that kind of lays out a project timeline, as well as the total construction cost. Now, their total construction cost is an estimate that's, from what I understand, does not include construction phase engineering at this point. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. So at this point, if you look at that project timeline, let's say that we did go ahead and bid it sooner rather than later, and let's assume that we're looking at a June contracts execution. We're still looking sometime at the beginning of 2025 before the project is complete. You had mentioned to me on the phone not long ago as far as the lead time on some of the materials. Do you want to mention a couple of sentences on that?
Sure. Again, this project is kind of unique. We've been talking with Ovivo, and Ovivo has stated that by the time that the submittal process starts to their approved to the actual fabrication, from point A to point B will be a year's time. So it's a long lead time to get it constructed, get it fabricated, and get it shipped out to the plant site. So there will be some lead time on that.
John, let me ask a question here. I'm just asking. It's actually just a question. What is the single most or what's causing the longevity on that? Is the construction of the traveling bridge itself, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And where's that going to be fabricated?
It'll be fabricated in the Ovivo plant. I don't have the city, but it will be at their plant. They'll fabricate it. They'll send in all the submittals. We'll make sure everything is up to standard. They'll galvanize it there. Then they'll send it out here to where you do have some corrosion resistance on your materials.
In a perfect world, what's the lifespan on this replacement bridge? 30 years, or are we going to get less than that?
It's a corrosive environment, so...
I'm saying perfect world.
Perfect world, 30, 35 years, somewhere in there.
You know, the reason I'm bringing that up, Council, is we're still going to have, to me, an antiquated system. And the city really needs to look at going to those standard round clarifiers, because it's much easier to get parts, it's easier to operate. We just didn't have the money to do that now. I think it was $7 million to go that route.
Yes, sir.
But it's something to start thinking about going forward when this one does wear out, switching over to the round clarifier or whatever's current at that time. I'm going to encourage us to not take action tonight. My little birdies are telling me we should have an answer from the county within the next month on whether we're going to get any ARPA money from the county or not. I'm hoping that's correct and we will have an answer. But before we pull the trigger and give up on Dorrance, I think it's worth 30 days.
Well, Rick, I'll say this. I'm not tying the two together because for me, my portion, the first portion of Dorrance is done. I can drive all the way the whole length of Dorrance. That plant goes down and we got problems. So
I understand that, but as soon as we pull the trigger on this, you're not getting any money from the county.
No, and I understand that. So that's why I am going to say, as important as this is, I think being wise with our taxpayers' money is part of that process. And I think if we jumped in the gun, and I think it would be jumping the gun to authorize bidding it, I think would be okay. But they might take it then as you don't need us. And I don't want that to be the case because we're sitting there $2 million short in a plant that's wobbling off its rails. So and I agree, and I hope you're right that we will. Council, this plant's something. Now, I have a question since you're standing there, Rod.
Yes, sir.
The city depends on reclaimed water now a lot.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to be able to keep us in reclaimed water?
No, sir. But I do have an alternative, and I've just completed that project. I put in a potable water supply line into the reclaimed system, and I've got it so I can dechlor the water. Most recently, the lake was down about a foot, and that was because the nitrogen was just too high. The quality of the effluent was not good, and I can't send that to the lake. That'll kill the fish. It'll turn it over. It will not be pretty, and I'll be looking for another job. But the potable water supply that I can dechlor at the plant is currently in place. And I think it was turned on today because they're taking the filters offline to do some work. As we move through the construction phase, I'm really concerned about the quality of the water, of the effluent. I'm hoping we can meet permit, but again, if the nitrogen's high, I can't send it to the lake. So with that project being a year plus, that's a concern. And I do understand Alderman Rick's concern about spending any money in this. Staff and the engineer have talked a little bit about starting the submittal process and the city purchasing some of the equipment. My question would be, would that upset the apple cart at the county level, Rick, without going to bid?
Are you talking about things like controllers and...
We're talking about the submittal process and the manufacturing of the actual equipment and us buying it.
Yeah, it would put the brand, that'd be putting the kibosh on it. That's the same as saying you're doing it.
The time frame is my issue, in so much that the longer we wait, the longer the process takes. If we can start at least a submittal without going out to bid.
It might be worth a conversation with Ed. Basically, what I'm thinking is splitting it into 2 bid processes. One would be manufacturing of some parts. So is the main thing the bridge?
Well, the gates would be the first thing. But if you'd give me just a moment, I haven't had a chance to lay it out in front of Nick, so I'm going to either be a hero or a buffoon right here in front of everybody. You never want to do this in front of council, but I've been working, and I briefly ran it by Rod on the way in. There's a way that we could potentially meet in the middle and save the city money and save a lot of struggle. We know that the submittal and the actual traveling bridge and all the equipment's coming from one place. It's proprietary. So no matter what contractor wins, it's going to come from that one place. That one place is going to sell it to the contractor. He's going to turn around and add 15% to 20% on top of it and go into his bid. Now, we also know there's a lead time of 12 months for the submittals and for the fabrication. So, again, just thinking out loud, one of the things that we potentially could do is the city could put the order in for the traveling bridge at a cost of about 1.3, but that's kind of on the high end because that's what we're projecting it to be with a 10 or 20% markup. I can get those numbers for you later time. Again, this will save the city money. If you purchase it, there'll be no markup on it. You're buying it straight from the fabricator. He'll deliver it to the plant site. That'll give you 12 months. Now, while you're waiting, you can start the bidding process of hiring a contractor to come in and do the installation and to do the gates.
I think.
All right.
Okay.
So if you look at that, the bid process will take you right about 2 months to go out to bid it, to get the bids in, to give you a letter of recommendation, and to get under contract. You'll then do 3 months of submittals and building of the gates, and then you'll have a month and a half of the installation of the 18 gates. So that's 6 months. So if the city were to start down the path of purchasing the equipment, you've bought yourself 6 months, and you've accelerated your schedule by 6 months to where you have to have that. You can go out to bid to have a contractor come and do the installation of the equipment you purchased plus the gates that you purchased for another $1.2 million.
We're going to have to run some traps on this because that's a sole source item. I don't know if that's going to then violate the ARPA funding. So that's something we're going to have to look into before we can even consider it.
Yeah, I think given our experience with ARPA, we definitely need to run some traps because, yeah.
See, by having the contractors go out and sole source it, but they're all putting on their own markup, you're getting out of that sole source issue.
Yeah.
If we go and order only from this one manufacturer because he's the only one that builds it, we could have issues with the funding. So good idea, John. I just don't know if the funding would allow it because we're going to use ARPA funding, not city funds for that.
On the bridge.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, this was just an idea of how to help y'all buy that extra time, but still accelerate the plant.
If we can get past the sole source issue, the traveling bridge would probably eat up all of the the city's currently authorized ARPA fund. And then we could get it started while we're waiting for the county to make a decision. And then if the county comes through, great. If the county does not come through, we put phase 2 of Dorrance on hold and go forward with our own bid.
See, John, that's exactly where I was going. I like that line of thought. I mean, that was my livelihood, was making things happen in a shorter time frame, and you've just stepped up 6 months. Nick, we need to visit on this, I think. I can make some phone calls and see what I hear.
I think we've got a coordinator up at the state, right? For the state funds, because the stuff that the city got directly came from the state. It did not come through the county.
Through the county, correct.
Correct.
So we're going to have to go back to our state coordinator with these questions.
And make sure that we don't step on ourselves over a couple weeks' wait.
Because
All right.
if the answer is no and you go out and bid it,
No.
all of a sudden it's 1.4 out of the city money.
How much per household would that be? No. Rod.
Sir?
Now, we've had discussions on this, and I'm feeling a sense of urgency out of you that I haven't felt before. Is there something that's happened that's causing this? Are you concerned with meeting TCE crew requirements now, or what?
You're not going to say that in a public meeting. Oh,
Yes, I've been running plants for a number of years, and kudos to Byron, who's currently running it. I'm very impressed how he's able to meet permit. He comes close to busting permit, and that's when we can't send the water to the lake, but he is doing a fine job. My problem is that we have so many components that are in rough shape. If one of these gates drops and closes, what do I do then? Then for sure I'm going to have an issue. I have so many components that are not operating properly. The longer it goes, just by the numbers.
Got it. Anybody else have any questions for Rod or
well,
HDR?
in the event we can't get past the sole source issue, could we bid the gate repair?
That's $700,000, and the answer is?
Well, I mean, it fits within the city's allocated amount. We would take care of part of Rod's concern by fixing the gates.
Let's get it started.
We need to fix them anyway.
Yes.
But it's just a matter of it's not going to help advance our timeline, but it would address one of the issues.
Yeah, the only thing about doing that is there's some shared costs that we have for bypassing. So you're going to pay.
You're going to pay twice on some of the items.
On some of the items.
It's a great plant. We need to make it good again. We need to sit down and visit.
It's not an easy decision to make. There's a lot of moving parts. The lead time on the gates is 12 weeks.
No, on
The gates. The gates are not proprietary. The traveling bridge is.
Yeah.
Before we can fix the bridge, we have to fix the gates so we can adequately control the plant.
Because you're going to have to move everything around.
We're going to have to start diverting. We're going to have to be able to completely isolate the traveling bridge.
John, if we did do that, if we separated out the bids and went ahead and bid gates separately, what's y'all's lead time? How much time would you need to go ahead and bid that, just specifically?
I'd have to take a look at it with my staff. It wouldn't take that much. And that is a possibility. But like I said, it would be like the dewatering and the bypassing. That would be some of the items that you'd have to pay for twice instead of once.
Yeah.
Can you give us when you get back to Nick and Rod with the answer on time, can you get back to us with a figure of how much we're going to end up double paying?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yes, sir. I definitely can do that.
Okay.
I can definitely do that. On the way that I laid it out, and again, that's the sole source thing, is working it all together at one time. You could end up by having the gates installed by the time the equipment arrives with one contractor. So that would be the most optimal way, is that way, if you can get past that, which, it may not be an issue if they're proprietary and this is an existing plant. So that's something that we need to look into.
Well, we're up here having private conversations behind your back, but we wanted to say thank you very, very much. I guess I'm on a point of saying council, at this point, I think we've got so many conversations that need to be had. Unless anybody has anything, I'm ready to just call this discussion at an end and move on.
I had one of the residents text me. They want to know, will they experience any issues, backups, or problems during the rebuild?
No.
Okay.
We have one lift station, and that's outside the scope of the work on the rebuild of the clarifier. The lift station has got 2 good pumps, and we're fine. We will continue to process it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, what we're talking about is basically one of the last stages of the trip through the treatment plant. So it's not the intake; it's where we export the water.
And you separate the solids and the liquid in the clarifier, and you take the majority of the liquid and send it downstream.
Cameron, do we have any kind of a visual for people to go look at? Do we have any kind of a video on our wastewater treatment plant that people can go look at to understand what we're talking about?
I can go make.
Okay. We'll talk tomorrow. Anything else, anybody? Okay. I think, Rod, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome, sir.
John, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking your time to come up here and visit with us. And I really appreciate the effort you guys tried to put together for us tonight. I really do, because I'm on board with that line of thought a whole lot. So thanks very much. And Nick, you want to go over the numbers, or are we done?
I think we should just move on at this point, Mayor.
I do too. All right, moving on. We're moving on then to item 4, which is financial management policy statements. I get real tickled when David Mertens gets excited. He starts talking about all kind of stuff and goes way over my head, way in a hurry, but he summed it up like this. I wish I'd have had a financial policy like this when I first started. I could have been light years ahead of where I am to try to learn everything. And we can post it, and he has all kind of good ideas with that. But basically, the staff recommends approval of the financial management policy statements that you've all been sent. We have incorporated some changes as of yesterday, some of which came through the PFI training, some of which we caught because we double-checked it and made adjustments, and Anna Maria made it better. So I'm going to ask for a motion to pass this...
I'll make that motion. Financial management policy statement.
I don't have a number.
I'll second.
Oh, that's not it. Oh, resolution 2023-06. Okay, who made the resolution? David? Anybody got a second on that?
Second.
Tia's got the Tia. Thank you very much. Anybody got any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And Anna Maria, that's a lot of work to get that quick over, wasn't it? Again, thank you very much. Oh, I haven't seen it in color. That's pretty. Moving on to City Council item agenda E6. Is that right? Discussion. Yeah, I didn't see 5. I'm sorry, that's why I asked. There it is. CenterPoint Energy 2023 Annual Gas Reliability Infrastructure Program GRIP adjustment with rate increase. Council has 3 actions, as you can see, to no action, approve, or suspend. And we have in the past just suspended, and they'll come back and tell us what it is.
It just suspends it for 45 days.
Basically, then they finish negotiating with all the big cities and the PUC.
Correct. And so,
move to suspend.
Okay. Motion to suspend by Rick, second by Kelly. Any further discussion?
The only thing I will say is a lot of this cost is going to, I guess, harden the network for distribution. everybody wants their gas and their electric to flow during hot and cold seasons. Basically, you need to give them the money to actually put that in place. So I think it's going to be close to that full amount. It might be $2 by the time they get done. But basically, with what CenterPoint needs to do to improve the grid, both electric and gas, it's going to be expensive.
And we don't have any choice anyway, because once they get through negotiating, they're going to come back and tell us what our rates are. We're suspending it 45 days, so we don't have to pay it now. Yes, they are estimating $2.47 per month. So let's see if we can save that for 45 days. We had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Now we're making it over to E6, discussion regarding letter to Texas legislature requesting reimbursement to TML Health for COVID expenses. I've heard all types of stuff, and I've talked to people from Austin all over the place. And Courtney, rather than me step on this, I'm going to let you address the summary on this.
Okay. So TML has reached out to all of the participating cities. They've currently spent over $29 million in COVID testing, vaccinations, treatments, and
sanitizer.
Yes, they actually had to go into their reserves to pay for these. We were getting for the last 2 to 3 years a monthly credit from TML Health, which we no longer get because they've had to go into their reserves. So they're asking all the cities to send a letter to support them in getting some funding back from the state to help get back part of that $29 million.
Basically, what we're going to do is send a letter asking them to put TML on as a budget item.
Right.
Which, by the way, this is the first time.
Yes, they've never asked, and this will help to keep our premiums at a lower rate.
Or at least it won't go advance up.
I'll move to approve, although I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah, motion. Do I have a second? Kurt's got a second. Any questions on this for Courtney?
All I can say is the state legislature is unlikely to do TML any favors unless there's some federal money or something where if they do it for themselves, they've got to do it for the rest of the entities.
You're right, but I think we owe it to ourselves and our
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yep. For our staff, anyhow. So, got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Maybe we can convince them, Rick. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. Item 7 is discussion regarding contractor registration and insurance. This was requested by Alderman Stagley. We've had some issue questions and some gray areas come up. So, Rick, you want to start us off?
Sure. So basically, during this last drought, I had some settlement on my foundation. Hoped it would pop back when it rained. It didn't. So I called my foundation guy to come in and do the adjustment. I've got lifetime warranty on my foundation repair. He comes in, gives me my estimate, says he doesn't want to pull a permit. I said, I'll pull it. I submit the information, and he gets a call from the city to come in and register and provide his insurance and everything like that. He calls me back and says, this is the reason I don't do any new work in Meadows Place. I'm not going to do it. I'm not registering. I'm not paying any money. So it put me in a position of either trying to not get a permit or voiding my lifetime warranty. I did work it out with the staff that I pulled the permit in my name. My contractor can now come do the warranty work. But I don't think we should be putting our residents in a position where they've got to void a warranty. So my question on this is for warranty type work, whether it's foundation, whether it's AC, do we want to find a way to grandfather the companies to come in and do the warranty work only? I'm not talking about new work. I think new work should be, contractor needs to be registered, everything like that. But for warranty work where it's not going to cost the homeowner anything, the contractor's not going to make any money, basically he's not going to want to come in and register with the city if he doesn't have to.
For foundation work, are permits required for repairs? Not repairs, but warranty work? Adjustments. There we go.
So I was told I needed a no-fee permit.
I hadn't heard that yet, so that's interesting to hear.
I would have said no.
Yeah. So
I have said no.
So since that time, I've had the opportunity to talk to the building official, and the short answer is no. You would not need a permit for that. So the city won't be seeing permits for those anymore, and I want you guys to know that. In talking to the building official, there are certainly a building official has a lot of discretion when it comes to what needs a permit and what doesn't. And so there's a lot of phone calls made when there are what we might call unusual circumstances where does this need a permit? And a building official will either say, yes, we need to inspect that, or no, there's really nothing to inspect here, so it's up to you guys. I think I've said this to a couple of you over the course of the day today, but when you talk about permitting for items that really don't need an inspection attached to them, like an alteration of a foundation, there's really, in my opinion, only two reasons why a city would want to permit that. Number one is to check the credentials of the contractor. Are they insured? Do they have, we actually collect their information, have it on file just in case something goes wrong. You can find out information that we collected on that contractor. The second reason is to simply have a record on the city files and the address file of what was done and when, right? If you're trying to buy a house in town, maybe you go to City Hall, you pull the address file, you find out that the foundation was altered in 2023. Outside of that, if a job does not require an inspection from an inspector, I think the question at your level would be, do we want to pull a permit for that kind of work? Think fences, or a lot of times roofs, windows, things that really an inspector wouldn't necessarily, siding replacement. If the weather barrier is already there, there's really nothing for an inspector to look at, and yet in a lot of cities, you'd need to pull a permit for replacing siding, for example. So there are instances where the question is, should we as a city still require permitting, still check the credentials of contractors if an inspector is not required to go out and take a look at it? And there's no right answer to that. It's a policy question for you guys.
And I'm not arguing against requiring the permit. So let's say it had been my AC unit, and they had to go replace something in the attic, and it involved electrical. I don't have a problem with us requiring a permit for that. What I've got a problem is requiring a company that is no longer, was registered when they first put it in, but is no longer registered, forcing them to re-register to come in to do warranty work.
And if it's minor repairs, general repairs or maintenance that wouldn't require a permit anyway, then there would be no reason, in my opinion, for them to come get the permit. If it is something that touches gas, if it's something that touches electrical, the example I've given is your water heater's under warranty, but it failed in 5 months and they needed to come replace it. Well, the inspector's going to want to go in and check those connections. Same thing with a furnace. If it goes out, they're going to want to check those gas lines. So if it's something that is inspectable, warranty work or not, we're going to want that permit to occur so that they can go out and inspect it and give us, the pass on that inspection. That's why when it comes to the building department, your building official does have a lot of discretion when it comes to what needs a permit and what doesn't. It's an art in some cases.
So question, what guides that today? Just whichever inspector happens to...
A call to BBG,
okay.
A phone call to BBG, and typically it would be an inspector. You're usually not going to get Kevin Taylor. I'll be, blunt with you. But perhaps somebody in the office who has experience with this. Hey, this guy is replacing windows, but he's not doing any structural work. He's just popping in new ones. Do we need a permit for that? Right? It's questions like that.
Nick, do we have a list of items that are inspected after permits are pulled, or things that would even... Is that something BBG has?
It's so many. I mean, if you look at the IRC, all the different international set of building codes, there's so many different things. There's not an exhaustive list that I know of that they could give to say this requires and this doesn't require. My big, this isn't my department, guys, and I don't, but I used to do this for a living. My big four is going to be your mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and structural. Right, those are the big four. Anything that touches those absolutely need a permit.
Which means if you're going to switch out an outlet, technically you need a permit.
It's electrical.
The reality is we know nobody's going to pull that permit.
Nope. If somebody goes in and they're moving cabinets and they're putting in some new countertops and there's an outlet in the way and they need to move that outlet 2 feet over, chances are they're not going to come pull a permit for that. Technically, the International Set of Codes requires it. But what you'll find in the International Code Book is that general minor repairs or general minor maintenance, HVAC tune-ups, etc., those don't require permits.
So, I see the question is, do we do anything or not?
In this instance, so no permit would be needed, right, for the readjustment. So
that's what finally came out.
Okay, so that company.
But the original. But I've got a permit in my name on this for this service right now. The city issued it.
But you don't need one.
Technically, now I don't.
Okay.
But I did this all by email. Hey, I'm having my foundation adjusted. No new piers. Historically, that has not needed a permit.
Correct.
Email comes back. You need a no-fee permit. I talked to my contractor. He says he's not going to pull it. I said, I'll fill out the paperwork because basically I don't need the scandal from not pulling a permit.
Yep. I hear you.
Fill out the information, send it in. Included my contractor's information because there's a spot for it. City contacts him, tells him he has to come in and register and pay his fee. I get a phone call saying, I'm not going to do it.
So it sounds like this was a moment of education for the staff, and we're all.
But going forward, we're going to run into this where somebody is going to need warranty work on their AC, which does require a permit. And if their lifetime warranty guy is no longer doing work in the city, he's going to tell that resident, I'm either not going to pull a permit or I'm not going to do this work. I'm not going to do your warranty work.
And this may be a question for Courtney. How often does that come up? Is this a very rare occurrence, or?
I'll be honest, this is it's not rare. We have residents who come in and have not get people to come do work that are not necessarily licensed contractors. And they're not actually a company. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times what happens then is the homeowner pulls the permit and just pulls it under their name and gets inspections under the homeowner's name. Now something with an AC would have the mechanical aspect and would still require inspections, therefore would require a permit.
So I guess, have you seen a situation like this come up?
No, this is the first time I've ever seen this.
Okay. So it sounds like we might just be looking.
We have had residents come up here with their contractor and the resident just pay the fee directly. We have had that.
Yep.
Where contractors didn't want to pay the $100 registration, and so the homeowner just comes up here and pays it. But if you have a contractor doing the work, we have checked with BBG, you can't pull that as a homeowner if you have a true licensed contractor in there.
For inspectable work, yeah.
For inspectable work.
For a trade, a plumber, an electrician, etc.
Right.
So I think what this has done for me is eliminate a gray area because I've had my foundation adjusted. I just called them up and said, hey, come adjust my foundation. They came out, showed up, adjusted my foundation, cleaned up and left. I never even thought about getting a permit. But you live in that world and I don't. So, but we learned. So right now as we sit.
I can also tell you that a big issue we have is foundation companies doing foundation work without permits here. And there's one company in particular that does it on a regular basis.
So at the county, when work starts without a permit, we double fee them. I don't know if the city
We
is.
double fee this company and they don't care. They just pay it. And a lot of times they fill in the piers before the inspector even comes out there. So then they have to provide the engineered letter and they just provide it. So, I mean, but that is a big issue we have, definitely with foundation contractors.
So separate from that, in our code book, and you'll see it in your backup, we do have two sections that are, I think, applicable here, and that's the insurance requirements for contractors and then the registration requirements for contractors. Those are the credentials that the city would require for a contractor to do work in town. It's a protection mechanism. It's, obviously very common in cities. I think the building official, in fact, I know the building official would encourage us to continue to require lines of insurance for contractors. It's a policy question.
Well, like I said, I'm not arguing going away from that for new work. The only thing I'm asking about is warranty work. And I did not ask for an action item. I just asked for discussion.
So I will also point out that from what I'm hearing from you, that Rick's scenario, and you would pick a weird one, is a circumstance that has all of the wrong boxes falling in place.
But I can tell you, I've got lifetime warranty on at least parts of my AC. And there I would run into this huge issue.
You could, depending on who.
Now, I'm not going to, because that was done by, was it ARC or whatever? I'm not going to run into an issue where they stop doing work here.
Right.
But I know a lot of people use mom and pop type AC places. And if one of them stops doing work in Meadows and is no longer registered, they won't be able to get warranty work. And I don't think we should put the residents in that position.
And I don't see a solution if we say, I'm sorry, you don't need to be registered.
No, the issue, what you do here is say, for warranty work only, the original contractor does not need to be registered with the city. They still have to pull a permit, but they don't have to
Well, it would have to
be
be
registered.
A contractor on that.
Yeah.
Basically, but for the warranty work only, not for new work.
That, I think, is a rare situation. Is it not?
Like I said, this is the first time I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Well, I'll say that it's rare, but my guess is those contractors are just coming in and out without pulling a permit and hoping they're not getting caught.
A lot of times they are.
I think
a
there
lot
are.
of times Jen catches them.
And again, it goes down to your original contractor.
I guess what Rick might be saying, and what you could do, is you could say for any warranty work associated with an original permit,
yes,
that 150.05 would not apply. 150.05 is the insurance requirements. If they are doing follow-up work to something that we already have as a permit on file, maybe we don't require insurance.
So that would make an addendum to this ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, they can still come in and register, and we could still take their credentials down. I mean, part of the reason we do that is because if they skip town, the city's got their contact info. But if we want to eliminate the insurance requirement on warranty work.
But is there a registration fee?
There is. What is it, Courtney? Like
$100.
$100.
My contractor
But
wasn't
if
going
you're going to waive the insurance, you can waive the registration fee as well for that.
Because I'm with that guy, and I understand exactly what he's saying. It's good. Y'all are 1 square mile, pal. I'm not going to miss your business.
Yeah, so that's all I'm saying is, so for warranty work only,
draft up something.
We waive this requirement. No, I mean, if there is support by council that is the direction, I understand it's rare, but if it caught me and I know what buttons to push, there are going to be residents out there that are just going to be furious, and because they don't know what to do.
Or I'll tell you what they're doing. They're saying, "Oh, go ahead."
Right.
Oh, go ahead. because I'm not going to get in the war with City Hall. You just enjoy it too much.
No, it's just the only reason I push the issue is I don't need the scandal of people finding out I went and had something done without permit.
I guess the only catch to this is that if the warranty work is gas related or water related, and they had to rehook up a furnace, would we want to inspect that?
It would require an inspection.
Yes.
That's what I think you're saying. They would still permit, but we would just waive the insurance and registration requirements.
So essentially, it would be a no-fee permit. Is
Yeah.
what it would be.
Well, I mean, there's still a permit fee separate from.
It's not to pay the fee for the permit. The homeowner's going to have to pay that because the contractor's.
So we're covering the cost on the inspection, but we're not requiring the credentials for them.
Right. We're not requiring them to register, and we're not requiring them to
from the
original permit.
From the original contractor or whoever acquired them, because there are things where sometimes a company gets acquired.
So basically what you just said, Nick, that if it's a warranty work with an original permit, we would waive the registration and insurance requirements, but not the permit.
Yeah,
correct.
We'd write up something saying 150.05 and 150.07.
We're about to move on.
Yes, I think that's correct.
Do y'all want, okay, so we're asking for some consensus here. Do y'all want to see something like that at the next meeting?
Sure.
And then and we can agree to disagree or agree to agree next time. And we'll get code enforcement to get involved in it at that time. Okay? So, that's exciting. Moving on. We're moving on to item E8, discussion regarding bars and zoning regulations. I requested this be put on because I misspoke on something. Who laughed down there? We had an EDC meeting, 3 weeks ago, something like that. And I was really excited because EDC was real focused, and what we're trying to do is figure out how to draw some new businesses, what we can do. And I got some suggestions from folks, and I asked them to send it to them, and I'll follow up with them, and I'll try to chase down who to talk to. And we've had some success with that. We've got to see O'Reilly's up there because we've chased them. Okay, we got an Aldi because we chased them. We got a Starbucks because we chased them. Okay, we're going to have some businesses in this city that have come in that way. I mean, we realize we're throwing stuff on the wall, and so, but some of it sticks and it's worth the effort. We had a couple of restaurants that were suggested that I've contacted, and I haven't heard anything back from on either of them, but we also had a question on a bar. And I said, nope, can't have a bar because it's 51% of its income is alcohol related, and that's how they get the majority of their income, so the answer is no. And then I was talking to Nick and talking to our code enforcement official because I knew she'd be able to bail me out, and officer, whatever. And nobody could find it. And I said, well, it's got to be there. I've been saying that for 20 years because somebody told me that. It made sense. We had a planning and zoning meeting, and I can remember sitting there, and everybody said, nope, 51% can't have them. Well, since then, maybe the laws have changed, and we're not able to outlaw illegal business. So it kind of leaves me on what to do, and I'm kind of lost. I can't find anything that says that's the case. I guess this would reside, if we did make any changes, would reside in the zoning ordinance. I've looked through all of the different commercial 1, 2, 3, and all that. I can't find it. So I am of the opinion I don't want to just straight bar in Meadows Place. If somebody comes in like Pappas and they sold a ton of liquor, a lot of margaritas went out of that front building, brought in a lot of revenue. But we can't, right now, we don't have any way to say yay or nay. And this is a council decision. I don't get a vote. It's my recommendation that we don't. I've got some reservations, and I've got some examples of bars that were just top notch 20 years ago that today you might not want to go into. So I'm going to ask council to allow me to ask the chief to come up and give his input from a PD's perspective before we have any other discussion. Chief?
Yes, sir. So when it comes to bars, there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration, and it does impact, no matter what kind of bar, your law enforcement. There has to be regular bar checks. There's things that are going to go on. We are a neighbor up to many cities that have bars, as you know. One of them primarily that I'm going to mention is across the freeway, straight across. That if you look at our calls for service where we back them up at those places are quite high. There were some that come in, even that you remember, I know it's closed now, so I'll just bring it up, where you didn't have as much of that, and that was like Redneck Country Club. Well, now they have a new name and a new title, and don't know that there's, usually when they start out new and fresh, they have the proper amount of security there. In fact, even recently, some of our officers have put in extra job requests to work there off duty. But those are the things that would come up that you have to be able to maintain that level of security for those things, and it does impact us. So I just want to put that out there. And the fact that if it's primarily for drinking and there's no food service or limited food service where their primary goal is off of alcohol, they're going to have problems on the street as well. I mean, most of our DWIs don't come from here, right? They come from the bars down the street. So that would be with a law enforcement perspective, and I just wanted to put that out there. If any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
None for you, Chief. Thank you. That's helpful. But for the mayor, are you suggesting we have an SUP requirement for a bar, or what?
Well, yeah, dang it, we have to. But that is what we have. We have the opportunity to put them under an SUP, and we can put them in a limited area. I would suggest, well, I don't know.
I don't know that we have to spend a whole lot of time on this tonight. If council wants to, what I would recommend is it gets kicked to P&Z, and we hold a public hearing to see what the community thinks about it.
This is going to have to go into P&Z anyway, isn't it?
Yep.
Whoa, what a great way to get out of having to do anything. But yeah, that would be what ultimately, when it comes back to us, we can do that. And then it would just be a special use permit, and council will get to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
No harm in that.
As long as they come in and stay nice.
And there's a limited area they can even be in right now, right?
We can do that.
Schools and churches, yeah.
So
there are state laws.
310 feet, I believe.
I guess.
Yeah, it's 300 feet, but that's going to cover that much area. So.
All right,
and it's from the door. It's not from the property line.
Right. It is from the front door.
So still, P&Z is a good way to add a level of protection so that we don't have this issue pop up and not have anything on the books.
Yeah, since you can't outright ban a use, what you can do is you can tack the SUP on top of the use and then basically determine which zoning categories to put that in. So if you wanted to put bars, right now bars are just simply not addressed in our code book at all. So you'd need to do two things. You'd need to define a bar, and then once you defined it, you basically determine where it goes. And if you wanted to have it as a specific use in your zoning categories, then that's where it could live.
So if we had C1 or whatever, we could put an SU, we don't even have to address it. It's just not permitted. But if we have it in like C2,
Right.
multi-use up front, then that would be the only place that it would be permitted under special use.
Right, you could limit it to one zoning category and SUP if you wanted to.
All right, so now you see why I brought this up, because I was shocked that we didn't. I'd have bet money on it, but it needs to get addressed in my opinion. So with that, I'm going to close this out, and we'll put something together for P&Z and public hearing and move on. What is that? That leaves us the consent agenda. Motion to approve by Rick, second by Kelly. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Are we going into an executive session? Oh, audience comments. Wait a minute, where are we? Oh, here we are on G. Okay.
Kelly Mills, 12123 Scottsdale. The mayor brought up earlier springtime in the meadows at the parks. As y'all know, I'm involved with the baseball league, doing concessions, etc. This season, Sheila and I went home dead one time. I looked up the games. We had like 7 games, which is 14 teams just in the meadows registered, which I average out to about 140 players. Some weeks coming up, A-Leaf will be coming in and playing with us, which will make us 10 games on the weekend. So slowly and surely, the league is building back up. So I want to commend the baseball leagues, Meadows Place Pony Baseball League, their board of directors for sticking with this, because there were times there was nobody and nothing going on. And the city supported them, made a big donation to fixing up the fields and everything, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, that's because they got Cabo Bob and Lopez Fields. Kelly, y'all were a bunch up there, and I know a lot of folks were happy about all the facilities going on, including the water park and all the play stuff. So it makes a great afternoon or morning for families to go up there and be part of Meadows Place Park.
And we will have games tomorrow, Wednesday, starting at 7 o'clock. It's our first nighttime game of the season. This concession will be open for chicken sandwiches, hot dogs, and corn dogs.
Okay. Next. Anybody else want to address council? No. Okay. That moves on to, thank you, Galen. Item H, we're calling a recess to convene into executive session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. We are hereby recessed. Turn off your microphones. All right, this is item J. Moving out of an executive session, we're reconvening into our normal regular meeting. We'll move it down to item 1, which is discuss and take appropriate action regarding the annual evaluation of city administrator. I'm assuming by the fact that y'all all returned, y'all have completed your evaluation, and the fact that he returned, you still haven't. Have a job. All right, so. I need no comments unless anybody has to say. No? Okay. Then we'll move on to item K. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Kelly, second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.